It is Locked On Jazz for the 7th of November. They just keep winning, and they keep winning in close games. The final two plays last night are symbolic, emblematic, whatever you want to call it, for the entire season. And we're going to look at those two, then talk Mike Conley. How impressive has Will Hardy been? They're doing it together. They did have some offensive struggles against the Clippers. We're going through it all coming up on today. And is it real? We're doing it all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? Okay, that's the stupidest question in the world if you're a Jazz fan. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Give you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. If you are a new listener because the Jazz have excited you and you want to know what's going on with this team, well, thanks so much for tuning in, and may I ask you to please subscribe or follow. It's free on all podcasting apps, or subscribe or follow on YouTube and hit the little bell button that notifies you when we do something live. Ron Boone and I do postcast after every game. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and welcome to the program if you're a new Jazz fan. Welcome back, kind of, sort of. Not really. Okay, welcome back, because we're in a good mood, to all of you that claimed you were never watching the Jazz again after they traded Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert. But it was probably like the third time you claimed that in 4 years. So it is so great right now. They're playing so well. They're playing for each other. They're playing committed. And the word that everyone uses around it is fun. They're just playing beautiful, beautiful basketball. And it's incredible. They're 8-3. They're the best record in the Western Conference right now. They have beat really legitimate teams, right? They've beat Denver, Minnesota, New Orleans, Memphis, the Clippers, and then they've also beat the Lakers and Houston. Ooh! When you're on the top, it's fun to giggle at people. So it is just remarkable right now. Absolutely remarkable. Great trip down to LA. The Jazz beat both the Lakers and the Clippers. The Lakers game tonight, obviously we'll touch on tomorrow. And the Laker game Friday seems to be like a distant memory after last night's incredible performance. And clutch performance. So if you didn't catch the game, all good. There's life. There's things in the way. It's why we have Game to Game. It's why we have Locked On Sports today. But here's the story. There's a lot of different things to this game, and a ton of stories about this game. And there's a Collin Sexton story that didn't seem to get into the paper. That Collin Sexton, during the game, when Marcus Morris Sr. was going bananas, or kind of handling Malik Beasley, Collin Sexton at 6'1" told him, "I'll take him." His unrelenting competitiveness is something else. But here's the story of the night. We're going through the fourth quarter, wondering how long the Jazz can go without Mike Conley. Mike Conley had checked out of the game with the Jazz leading 81-77 with 2:16 left in the third quarter. By the time we hit the fourth quarter, the Jazz were trailing. And by the time we were and I had said on the air, can we get to the 8-minute mark? Can we get to the 6-minute mark? Where can we get to? And all of a sudden, the Jazz are down by the score of 91-87, and that's enough. 8:44 left. It's 91-87 Clippers. And Will Hardy brings Mike Conley back with 8:29 left, or with 8:44 left, and Mike Conley promptly gets a layup right away. He then does miss a three, but the Jazz outscore the Clippers from 91-87. They close down the stretch, outscoring the Clippers 23-11 after Mike Conley checks into the game. Now, Kawhi Leonard's not there, and they certainly miss Luke Kennard because that's not a good shooting team. But that's a Clipper team that is built to supposedly win a lot of basketball games this year. They're the team that I had as one of the favorites for the whole season, and maybe still are if they get healthy. But last night, it felt like they had too many pieces. And it's what happened to us last year. You can get too many pieces. You can get not enough balls floating around, and they feel that way a little bit. Norman Powell doesn't look right. We don't need to talk about them too much, but Norman Powell doesn't look comfortable. John Wall taking 15 shots really starts to send things in a funny way. Reggie Jackson doesn't look that comfortable. Nicholas Batum is kind of a bit piece that seems uninvolved. You're probably better off having a 21-year-old guy flying around doing that. They seem a little off. Paul George was brilliant, 34. Marcus Morris Sr. was great. But now let's get the Jazz winning. Let's get back to the Jazz. I want to go through the final two plays of the night because to me, those plays are so symbolic of everything that is so great about what this team has been this year. So the first thing is you come down here and the game, the Jazz have actually kind of, if we're really being honest about it, the Jazz have gained control of this game already. It's 106-102, and there's a minute 15 left. You're actually in pretty good shape. You're gonna likely win this game. You need a field goal. And the final one, you're up 108-102 with 24 seconds left. You actually have the game. But they're still kind of symbolic of what we're seeing. At this point, the half-court offense hasn't worked great. Conley's missed a 9-footer. Beasley's turned it over out of bounds. Sexton's missed a 5-foot layup. We've been getting almost all of our buckets on free throws for most of the quarter. We weren't shooting well. There was a big Malik Beasley 3, a shake it, Malik, shake it, at 4:13 left. I got on the plane last night, and he looks at me. He was greeting all of us as we got on the plane. He's such a great energy guy. And he literally said to me, shake it, shake it. Someone had told him. So, anyway, I'm all over the place. Haven't slept. So let's go through these final two plays, because I do think they're symbolic of the whole season. The Beasley 3 is actually too. So the first thing is you just don't know where we're going. We've got we don't have Clarkson. We have Sexton, Beasley, Olynyk, Conley, and Markkanen on the floor. Anybody can make the play here. So it opens up on the left side of the floor. The Jazz take a little while getting into spacing, and then they play, instead of the two-man game that they've been playing so much, with Markkanen and Conley, they go left side of the floor, and they play two-man game with Conley and Olynyk. So we haven't really seen this year. So there's one aspect of this that's symbolic of the season. It's another piece of a puzzle that hasn't been what we usually do. Okay, Beasley's lifted high, Sexton's the third guy in the middle guy, and Markkanen is the corner guy. Our middle guy cuts. And there's some point, I don't know what the rules are, I don't know what Will's taught here, there's some point in the process where our middle guy cuts. If there's three guys, the guy at the top, there's the guy in the middle, free throw line extended, there's the guy in the corner. The guy free throw line extended cuts. That just kind of, you have to for spacing, but it's also how we play. So Conley comes around the middle pick and roll, jump stops at the top of the key, and flares it back to Olynyk. Here's the next part that's symbolic to us. This is a bad pass. Olynyk catches it on his outside right foot, and every single guy on our team can dribble, pass, and shoot. Vando's probably the one guy who can't really shoot, and he's shooting 50% from three. But every single guy on our team can dribble, pass, or shoot, which makes us really, really hard to guard. Spacing is still the same. Now Conley's at top, and Olynyk's isolated on the left wing, and now has Paul George on him, because they have taken Paul George at 6'9" and put him on Mike Conley to try to bother Mike Conley with height. And Olynyk drives to the left hand, spins back to the middle. They now bring the help defender. Where does the help defender come from? So they now bring the guy who's guarding Markkanen, slides over on the baseline as the help defender to cut it off. The guy guarding Collin Sexton, which is Terrence Mann, slides down because Markkanen cuts. Multiple cuts. Markkanen cuts the baseline. So Mann, who has slid down, who was guarding Collin Sexton, has to slide down to go help on Lauri Markkanen's cut. Markkanen's not available because Mann's cut him off. Malik Beasley's at the top. Collin Sexton's wide. John Wall is now forced to defend both of them. Sexton cuts. If Sexton's not open, Malik Beasley's wide open for three. One of those two is happening no matter what. It's a beautiful set play. I'm not sure if you decide, the only way to guard this is to decide you're not double teaming Olynyk, which probably maybe you shouldn't have. And then Sexton cuts, catches, and dunks. And John Wall's thinking like, wait, how'd I get beat on that cut? But if you'd cut off that cut, Malik Beasley's open for three. I mean, open for three. Like, open for three. Not like sort of open, like wide open for three. So, And the cutting is really become our signature. So let's go to it again. Here's the next play. Similar setup. Exact same setup, actually. Paul George is up on Mike Conley. Kelly Olynyk is going to be the guy. Marcus Morris tries to get physical with Olynyk, so he can't get the pick to him. Paul George is hassling the hell out of Mike Conley. This play is a disaster. And this is where Will Hardy's been so great all year. Don't be robots. Play basketball. Don't be robots. Play basketball. And I'll explain that as we continue and looking at these two plays here in a second. But this is now the same play, but completely 100% blown up. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross. Also in Logan, the Chevy lineup of the trucks with the Suburban and the Tahoe, you know so, or the SUVs with the Suburban and the Tahoe, you know so well, is great. The lineup of the trucks is amazing. The Colorado as well as the Silverado. There's really not much like the Chevy truck in America, and it is the ultimate of Americana. And the Murdochs have been in Utah for over 90 years. So you're getting Americana, you're getting Utah, you're getting the season of giving, you're getting $5,000 off the Silverado 2.7 half-ton 1500. You're getting it all right now at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, also located in Logan. If you're going to stop by, please stop by and join us. They got over 100 in stock available to drive home today. And if you've never driven that Silverado truck, seriously takes a moment or two and do it, because it is just literally like driving a lazy boy chair, driving a huge car in a lazy boy chair. It is so comfortable, so amazing, and so great. So make sure you get that done. Over at Murdoch Hyundai, located in Woods Cross, also in Logan. And again, email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. Well, there's a big night of 30 NBA teams active tonight. 15 NBA games, 100% deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON at Prize Picks. Can't be a much better night to get involved than with Prize Picks tonight, because there is just so many games, so much fun to have going on for you tonight. You pick 2 to 5 players. If they'll score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, and you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less if it's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com and sign up for your daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit, match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. If you deposit $79.50, you'll get $79.50. You got it. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON, because that's how you get your instant deposit match up to $100. It's all at Prize Picks. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free, available on all podcasting apps. If you're a new first-time listener to the Jazz, have grabbed your attention, thanks so much for joining us. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and super great to have you with us on the show. Please subscribe and in YouTube, chat with everyone as we're having fun. Great involvement there. All right, let's go to play number 2. So it's blown up, right? It's totally blown up. Nothing's going the way it's supposed to here. So Mike Conley now is being forced by Paul George. I mean, this is great defense. Paul George is up on Mike Conley at 35 feet. And at 6'1", Mike can't get off. And Marcus Morris is bodying up on Kelly Olynyk. And the game's frankly over at this point, but it's still symbolic. And so left-hand drive by Conley. He can't get to the pick. He tries. He gets back. Now he goes down left. He comes back. He can't really get to it. They just don't have contact. So, but they get close enough to each other because they're both veterans to understand. At which point, the Clippers, with all this pressure, kind of blow it. I don't know what their game plan was, but if they were switching, Olynyk got close enough to Conley, kind of rubbed off Paul George enough, and really incredible work by Mike Conley and Kelly Olynyk to even get to that point, that Marcus Morris now switches on to Mike Conley. And Paul George is now caught in no man's land, so Olynyk catches. And Olynyk catches and gets it at the block. This time, John Wall slides in front of Collin Sexton. Terrence Mann slides out. Markkanen decides not to slice. So Olynyk catches. There's literally 4 guys around him at this point. He's pretty suffocated underneath. Markkanen is holding in the right corner. Sexton, who cut last time, is now cut off by John Wall. Literally puts a body on him. And Malik Beasley is wide open. Olynyk spins out of it under the pressure, dribbles to the middle of the lane, Sexton does a really neat job where he kind of just stays around the middle of the court and kind of retreats out and stays available. John Wall, worried about Malik Beasley, leaves Collin Sexton now, which is a little weird, but John Wall's never been known as an off-ball defender. But he was also in a situation because they doubled Olynyk on the drive that both guys were there. So they find Sexton, great help defense there by Norman Powell, and Terrence Mann. So Powell's now guarding. Terrence Mann comes over the baseline, and now Markkanen slices around the backside and gets the layup. So again, multiple cuts, spaced floor, unselfish play, everything that this Jazz team has been about all year long. It's really, really impressive in so many ways. I want to take a look at the Beasley 3 as well, because I think that's another one that's symbolic of everything that's going on here. And again, it's just Mike Conley's calmness. So they come down the floor early. They had some half-court issues last night. We did not play great half-court. We struggled half-court. They get down in early spacing. This time they're working the right side of the floor, and immediately they go to Olynyk in the post. And by the way, it's worth noting that every single one of these plays seems to go through Kelly Olynyk, who is just awesome. He is such a good basketball player. He does everything right. He moves the ball. He can pass. He can dribble. He can see the floor. He's playing with such confidence. He's a marvelous, marvelous player. It's an interesting play to try to figure out, truly how good he is and how he ranks, because he has all sorts of things where you want to disparage him, and you shouldn't, because he just makes it good. So Mike Conley throws the entry pass. And now we're on the other side. So we're on the right side with Olynyk. And the spacing is Beasley, Markkanen, and then I think it's Sex at the top. And Olynyk just bumping it back. And the Clippers send a weird double team that kind of makes no sense. Again, they kept double teaming Olynyk in the post. And this time they come off Beasley. And this one's actually just an easy straight pass to Malik Beasley, who buries the 3. And the reason I bring this one up, because it's not very complicated, it's not a sign that Jazz did anything great, is teams actually just blow stuff all the time. And our guys are just catching people. We're just stealing points all night long. And we're stealing points on offensive rebounds. We're stealing points by being in transition. We're stealing points by cutting for easy layups. Will kind of has said a few different times this year that, just being a jump shooter in this league and trying to score that way is super hard. And it's a little interesting because the Clippers are kind of there. They're not going to the free throw line at all. They're last in the league offensively, but they're 17th in shooting. It doesn't make a lot of sense that that's possible. But it is hard just to be a jump shooter all night long. And we kind of started the night there. I think we ended up with 2 shots at the rim in the first quarter. We only had 6 shots in the rim in the first half. We got 6 more in the third. And then in the fourth, we just attacked. And Collin Sexton played brilliant basketball, attacking the basket with relentless energy and pizzazz, playing off Mike Conley. And this is another area where we've got to give Will Hardy some credit, because he is figuring out how to use these players. This is one where, just honestly, I don't think any of us would have got. So Collin Sexton's just not a point guard. And he got heavily criticized in Cleveland for this. He got, the veterans came after him for not passing. Okay, I can totally see it. He doesn't have a natural feel for the game. He doesn't see things that develop. He kind of predetermines. He does what he thinks he should do, right? He's such a wonderful burst of energy and exuberance, and he wants to please. You can kind of see that in him. And so, I need to pass this time. But it's not a read. It's, I need to pass this time. And it doesn't work well. And, it's evident when Collin's on the floor right now without Mike, we really scuffle. And that's going to start happening less and less and less. You can feel it. We're -9. Our offense is in the 29th percentile. Our defense is in the 16th. But you let Collin Sexton play next to Mike Conley. And unfortunately, NBA.com no longer has the impact stats where you could look at Collin's numbers just with Mike. But the team numbers were +20 per 100 possessions when they're on the floor together. We're 134 offensive rating and a 114 defensive rating. Defense isn't great there. The offense is the 100th percentile. This, Will Hardy is figuring out how to use Collin Sexton for his best ability. Collin Sexton came in the other night. He opened up. He played the first kind of 2 minutes with Mike Conley, and then he finishes the rest of the quarter playing the final 4 minutes without Mike Conley. And then he comes back in the game and he plays matched completely with Mike Conley to end the second quarter for 6 minutes and 31 seconds. So if Mike, in Collin Sexton's first half, he ends up playing, about 12 minutes, on pace for 24, maybe 25. And he plays 4 of them without Mike Conley, 8 of them with. And in the second half, he ends up doing almost the exact same thing. And that, and what happened? We were in the 4 minutes where Collin's on without Mike, we were -2 in the first half. And in the, Mike left the game here. And in the 2.5 minutes without Mike, we were -3. Where Collin's on the floor. And we're not great with Mike without Collin either, let's be perfectly clear. But it's just, that's just not a natural thing. So Will Hardy instead has figured out, okay, well, I bring Mike Conley back and let Collin Sexton. And then there was another, by the way, minute there where we're -2. So last night, when Mike Conley's off the floor and Collin Sexton's on, in very limited time, we're -7. Okay, I'm not criticizing Collin Sexton. This is just not what he does. What Will Hardy's figuring out is what he does. What he does is he attacks, he can shoot it, he can score it. He is a 6'1" powerhouse of a shooting guard. And that's got limitations. But right now, it's pretty awesome. And Will Hardy's figuring out how to make it work. And he's carrying the Jazz to clutch late game plays. And he plays with an exuberance and an energy and a pizzazz and a commitment to winning and desire that's awesome. And that's really an example of kind of what Will Hardy's done with this team. We struggled last night. I mean, we really, really struggled last night. Offensively, our half-court rating in the first quarter was 77. Our half-court rating at the end of 3 quarters was an 88. That's where I'm stunned we won last night. The Clippers, going into the fourth quarter, the Clippers' offensive rating is a 106, and ours is an 88, and you're heading into the fourth quarter where you're going to suddenly have a hard time scoring. Because it's half court, you're not going to be in transition. We were averaging 1.9 points per transition in the first 3 quarters. We were in transition only about 12% of the time. We had 0 corner threes the entire game. The Clippers had really played a really good game against us. And frankly, if you're going to beat this Jazz team, you have to play really well. Dallas did the other night. If you go back and listen to Locked On Jazz a few nights ago, we said it. Dallas did. The Jazz end up with 15 shots at the rim all night, but they end up going to the free throw line a ton late, so those count. They go 2 for 2 in corner threes in the fourth quarter after having not hit a corner 3 the whole time. And they end the night with a .91 half-court rating. Not great, 38th percentile. Didn't do an incredible job on the offensive boards without Vando. This is what's really interesting, and where, is this real? There's more and more things that say this is real because of the way they're winning games. They're stealing points, as I talked about. Last night they won the game at the free throw line. They attacked, and the Clippers don't shoot free throws. And the Clippers offense is super bad because of the fact that, last in the league, because they don't shoot free throws. But usually the Jazz are winning the 3-point shot distribution game, and the shot distribution game, they kind of lost the shot distribution game last night a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. The Clippers had 27 shots at the rim, the Jazz had 15, but the Jazz had the free throws. So that's why I say a little bit. The Jazz half-court offense struggled, but then in the fourth quarter, the half-court defense got really good, and the Clippers went over 11 from 3. That could be just being fortunate. It's really something else. All right, I want to talk about Will Hardy, and we'll do that as we continue here. It is Locked On Jazz. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. I want to make sure you make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. 22-minute recap of all things sports, of everything that's going on in the sports world, recapping the world and getting up to date. If you have a wife, a kid, a dog, a job, all the things that take you away from watching sports every minute like you'd like to, Locked On Sports Today is here for you. So I've spent more time with Will Hardy, getting to know him. Don't know him yet at all, but had some great conversations. He's given me 2 books to read, which I'm excited to read on this upcoming trip. Here's the thing that jumped out to me the most about Will Hardy in this trip. So, again, I've said this a lot. We hear the phrase, he's super bright. Okay, well, what does that mean? What does that truly, truly mean, that he's really bright? I do this, he's calculated in a good way. And without breaking his trust of our conversations, the thing that jumped out to me the most in talking to him, there's nothing right now that's happening by accident or that he's uncertain of in his first year as a head coach. He's been planning on being an NBA head coach, I would say, every minute in some extent since he got into the film room in San Antonio. When he got the job in the film room in San Antonio, I think if he was really honest, he set his objective to be an NBA head coach at that day and started doing things to be prepared to be an NBA head coach. And then stage 2, I would tell you that as he's gotten closer, so let's say in the last 3 or 4 years, it became evident. He's coaching Summer League for the Spurs. Okay, well, you're going to be a head coach at this point. You're under the Popovichian tree, and you're the Summer League coach. You're going to... He has done everything he could that he could think of to prepare himself to be an NBA head coach. Whether it was how he watched the game, how he prepared himself, how he developed his skills, how he read, how he learned, whatever it might be. From talking to him, that's what's most evident. And also what's most evident is how clear his vision is to what he's doing with this team and how it needs to play and how it needs to be treated and how it needs to act and how it needs to come together. And it is coming together. But none of the things that are happening right now with Will Hardy are accidental. There's not a fly by the seat of the pants, I'll figure this out as I'm going along first-year head coach thing going on here. And it was interesting, Ty Lue yesterday was really interesting about these young coaches who are coming in the league. Taylor Jenkins, I'm sure, fits this same mold. And Taylor Jenkins and Will Hardy are pretty close. Penn background, Williams background. These are elite educations that these guys got as well. But I don't think that Taylor Jenkins got the head coaching job and thought this, oh my gosh, how do I do this? I don't think Will Hardy got this job and is making a great deal of stuff up as he goes along. You listened to him talk earlier this year. The first tip to me was when he talked about environment. And we're really conscious of the environment we have for our team each and every day and what they're existing in. That was the first kind of tip to me that there was something a little different. Some of the conversations we had on this trip are even further solidify that. He knows exactly what he's trying to learn as the season goes on about the league, the team, and his team and other teams. He knows exactly where he's trying to look to find those things. He knows exactly where he thinks he can pick up information that will be helpful. He knows exactly what he needs as a person to become better, and he's doing those things. And he's been doing them for a while, not, oh, shoot, I have this thing where I got to get better, and I'm going to go. It's very, very, it's a plan. It's a well-executed Will Hardy LLC plan. And the beauty of it is that he's on the player's journey. There are really 2 types of coaches. And this is where things wear out over time. There are coaches who are on the journey of the players. And then there are coaches the players are on their journey. And the worry you have when you have a young coach is that they're so obsessed with their greatness, their power, their success, that they end up creating an environment in which the player is on their journey. That wears out over time. Now, credit to Quinn, 8 years is not wearing out. So clearly Quinn, we were fortunate in having that, right? Jerry clearly had that as well. We've in Utah, we've had this where it's clearly the coaches are part of the player's journey. But there's plenty of places where the players feel as though they're part of the coach's journey. Collegiate sports, that's very true, but you only have to have them for 3 or 4 years so you can get away with it. But it was really an interesting trip in that regard for me, in seeing who's leading this ship and who he is. And he'll continue to open eyes. He's got this thing. He's got this thing dialed. All right, that is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so very much. Jazz Lakers tonight. How about the world that we don't even preview a Jazz Lakers game? But the Jazz are going to be super tired. The Lakers got here first, but the Lakers they're not good, and they're kind of a mess. And LeBron doesn't have any pop, and Anthony Davis looks really heavy and is not playing well in second halves of games. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens tonight at back-to-back. Could be a super sloppy game, and so mental fortitude, I think, will hold through this one. We'll see what Mike Conley does tonight. He wants to play all the time. I'll be interested to see. He's had a huge burden on him, so we'll see what happens here. It is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. It's Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Go make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Have a great one.